Well, I'm here to finish up the recipe for my spinach pie with using Filo dough, which I absolutely love. It provides a nice little crunch, paper thin, but you get so much of that great goodness from the spinach mixture. So anyway, obviously Chris and I liked it because it's almost all done. Hi you guys, I'm Amy Roloff, and thank you so much for joining me in my little kitchen. Tell you the truth, it's been a while since I've been in my kitchen because Chris and I have been under the weather with some really bad sinus colds lately. So I am finally getting back to it. I feel so much better. And of course, this is my happy place. So we're already in the middle or towards the end of, well, kind of in the middle of spring, and an exciting time it is. So or towards the end of spring, 2/3, whatever. So I thought for a very light meal for us, because we really haven't been doing a whole lot, and I'm hoping I don't put on too much weight, because that's not a good thing. Anyway, we are going to make spinach pie. It has been a long time since I've done this dish as well. And I always remember making a similar variation of this into little appetizer things. I remember my mom doing that when they would host their monthly pinochle card game with some friends and everything. I know that my mom would make some of those. And in turn, I've made them over the years, but I thought it'd be kind of fun to actually make a little spinach pie or baked spinach pie, whatever you may call it. I may call it spinach pie, I don't know, but it's not exactly in a pie dish. However, you could put it in a pie dish and cut it up like a pie. I chose to do this small little baking dish because it's only Chris and I. Excuse me. It's only Chris and I. And so if you want to double this recipe from what you see on the video or the recipe that I put out there with this video, feel free to double it, because obviously this is going to be more than we can eat in a night. But hey, leftovers are pretty good. So let's get going and make some spinach pie. And by the way, you know what? I can't remember. I was going to say something. I was going to say that spinach is one of those leafy vegetables that you could get earlier than some of your other vegetables during the summer. So if you have any fresh spinach, I would suggest that you just, well, let me get to that later. Let's get going and just make spinach pie. Okay, let's get going and make some spinach pie in Amy's little kitchen. You can use this with frozen spinach, and I think most people do that because that allows you to make, it's less expensive, and you can make this any time of the year. I just chose it right now because it's a lighter dish. It's full of those great vitamins that you get from spinach. I happen to have one big bag of spinach right here. It's 10 ounces. So if you want to double this recipe, I would go at least 2 of those big bags, maybe 2.5, depending on what you want. I'm hoping this will be enough. So I chose that bag of spinach. Or I've made these little spinach appetizers, and I bought the big leafy spinach. And what I did is, you know, I took the stems off, and then I just chopped up the, see, even Chris is coughing. I just chopped up those spinach leaves into, you know, smaller like pieces. Not minced, but just chopped them up. So, I've already prepared this. This is Filo dough. Very thin, paper thin. I forgot how easily it tears. So I got a bunch of it right here. I've got a slightly damp paper towel over it just to keep it moist and not dried out. I've laid, I'll lift this up. I laid a layer in here. I buttered the dish, laid my first layer, buttered that, laid the next, buttered that, So I have probably about 7 layers in here, 6, 7, something like that. Because you really want it, you know, to create a base. And I'll do the same thing for the top. So what else do I have going on here? Oh, well, my onions have browned a little bit, but I think that'll be okay. You can put more onion in it, but I have half of an onion chopped and I browned it. I'm just keeping it warm over here. I'm gonna turn that up a little bit. And then I have 3 cloves of garlic. Well, 4, but I'll probably just, these are large, so I may only chop up 2. So I'd say anywhere from 2 to 3 cloves of garlic for this amount of spinach pie that I'm using. I'm gonna break up this feta cheese to maybe about 1/3 of a cup, maybe half. I'm gonna say probably 1/3. So let me get that out. My handy dandy measuring cups. So this is 1/3. I'm gonna see how that goes. I have 3 eggs here. I may only use 2, but I've got 3. I'm gonna season the spinach and everything with a little bit of nutmeg. I don't know, maybe a half a teaspoon of dill and a little bit of oregano. The one thing I forgot was parsley. I'm gonna do a little bit of pine nuts. And then I have a little bit of kind of more chunkier ricotta cheese. It wasn't as smooth as I had thought, but I think it'll still work. This is a little much. I don't need all of this, so I only need maybe a half a cup, 1/3 to a half. And then a little bit of breadcrumbs. Did I forget anything? Let's get to work, people. Let's get this meal going here, okay? All right, are you with me? I hope you are with me. As I was mentioning, if I can, I'd like to use fresh spinach. And all I did here was I just wilted it under, where's my knife? Huh, I gotta get a different knife. Sorry about that, I didn't get a knife for the proper one. I like to wilt my, I like using fresh spinach. And so if you use the big leafy one, chop it up, just run it under really hot water just for a few minutes and you'll see it. This whole bowl was full of that whole 10-ounce bag. And I just put very hot water over this and just kind of let it steam, cook a little bit, drained it. Very much, whether it's frozen or fresh, make sure you squeeze as much water out of your spinach as possible, because too much water obviously won't bake everything together. It'll be a little soupy or whatever. So, okay. I don't know if you guys can see this at all. This is for my phone. I got garlic. Okay, I'm gonna chop up. I'm gonna chop up 2 garlics. 2 garlic cloves. Tell you the truth, I probably put 3 in there, but you know, I don't want it to overpower of garlic. And a little, and you need a little salt and pepper too. But yeah, I didn't want to overpower the garlic, so 2 garlic cloves, I think it'll be enough. Get all chopped up as finely as I can. Sometimes when I chop like this, the garlic goes all over the place. I don't know why it does that sometimes. Onions or other things, when you hit it wrong and suddenly it's somewhere else on the counter. So I have 2 cloves of garlic here. And really this is all about, and I'm gonna put this in with the onions so that these can cook a little bit. And if you need a little more oil when you're cooking it, just add a little bit more oil, but I think I've got enough moisture in here. So I'm just gonna stir that around a little bit and then continue cooking the onions and the garlic. just until the garlic is a little aromatic. You can smell it. You know it's kind of being infused with the onions and stuff. So I'm going to save these 2 garlics. Let me break up my feta cheese here, because I don't want too big of a chunks. And then I already got crumbled feta cheese. If you buy a whole thing of feta cheese, just, you know, kind of break it up, slice it, chop it up. Just gonna try and get a oh, I see, I got a bowl in here already. Anyway, so we're just gonna break up the feta cheese here. I know Chris and I have really just been hanging around the house for the whole week. Man, you'd think we were in lockdown again. It's just one of those things, you just didn't feel like going anywhere. I'm just glad it's been rainy and cloudy, so I haven't missed any real good weather. But I did get out there and go for a little walk here and there, because, I don't know, when you're not feeling very well, there's nothing like good old fresh air. Okay, how much do I have here? Trying to look at my, I have at least a third. Okay, almost a third. I'm just gonna break up some more. These bigger chunks would be great for like a Mediterranean salad, which kind of, this whole, I don't know how to pronounce the one word that's a Greek word for this dish, spinach pie. Starts with the letter S, but this is kind of a traditional Greek dish. And it's, I remember making this as a kid. This has been around for a long, long time, this dish. I remember this so much. Okay, this is about a third of a cup. I think that'll be enough. Okay, I'm gonna kind of get all my stuff together because we're gonna mix all of this together. So let me put this aside. I'll just put that over there. I gotta try and make sure my Filo dough doesn't, okay, I've got that. My onion's already done. I'm gonna go ahead and add in some of my herbs. So I'm just gonna sprinkle some in. I'm gonna say 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon of oregano. Yes, oh my gosh, I hope I did get the right thing. About 1/2 teaspoon of dill. If I had fresh dill, I would have used fresh dill in there and just chopped it up, but I don't, so I'm using dried. I think spinach and fresh dill is good. I don't know, 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon of that. Depends on what you'd like. Now I want to be careful on the nutmeg, because nutmeg can be very powerful. I'm just going to give this a few little scrapes. And tell you the truth, I think that might be enough. Okay, we've got that. I'm going to put a little dash of salt in here. A little bit of pepper. Now, I debated whether to do this or not, but I'm going to put in a little bit of pine nuts, about 1/4 of a cup. I mean, probably because spinach is, you know, obviously a soft veggie. Maybe not even 1/4. Yeah, maybe 1/4 cup. I debated whether to, a little less than 1/4 cup for this amount. I debated whether to roast them or not. And so I'm deciding not to do that. So, okay, I've got my seasonings in here. Okay, I've got my onions done. Oh man, smells so nice. Caramelized onions, garlic. We're just gonna pour that in there. And I know there's a little moisture in there, so hopefully that will be okay. I'm gonna get a big fork for this. And then, like I said, I did way too much ricotta cheese here. So I'm gonna do about a quarter of a cup of ricotta cheese. So yeah, I'm gonna do about a quarter cup, or slightly less than a half. So maybe about a third. But if I was doubling this recipe, I would do at least a, well, this is close to a half. So we're gonna get that in there. Put that over here. I'm gonna go ahead and minus this egg. We're going to crack this egg. And I'm gonna stir this up a little bit. I forgot I did need a smaller fork. So yeah, we're just gonna heat up this egg a little bit. 2 of them. I hope this is still staying moist, my Filo dough. We're gonna bring this over here. I'm gonna stir this up a little bit. Oh, I love some of the herbs that I'm smelling in here. And if you wanted a little more onion, feel free. I only did a half of an onion. If I were to double this, I would definitely do 1 whole onion. Tell you the truth, I think I almost need a little more ricotta. I don't think that half a cup was quite enough. Just gonna put in 2 more scoops. Then we're gonna dump in the feta cheese. I'm gonna dump in the pine nuts. And if I had thought about it a little more carefully, I would have put my ricotta cheese in a bigger bowl and then mix the eggs in with the ricotta cheese and then mix this all together. Now we're gonna do the egg. And then make sure you got all of that egg intermixed in here. And of course, the egg is the thing that will bind it all together. I'm trying to think, what else do I want in this? Oh, you know what I forgot? Just a little bit of parsley. You know what? I'm gonna go and get a little bit of parsley real quick. Is that okay? Okay, sorry about that. I'm gonna take my parsley here. Why do I keep losing that knife? Here it is. I'm just gonna lightly chop this up, maybe get a couple of tablespoons out of this. Kind of just bunch it all together for the bigger leaves. Really, this is not a hard dish to bake or make. To me, one of the hardest things is making sure your Filo dough doesn't rip and tear. So, and now that I got this out, the first thing that comes to my mind, so I'm just gonna sprinkle that in there. It's about 2 tablespoons maybe, is baklava. Oh my gosh, doesn't that sound so good now? That's what comes to my mind. Okay. Let me just put that egg aside. I'm just gonna put this cutting board aside, just in case if I need it again. We're gonna bring this over here. Just let me get a, okay, oops. Oh dear. Okay, yeah, hopefully I didn't wait too long. We're just gonna, oh, you know what I forgot? You guys, I'm so sorry. I forgot the parm. I knew I had it out here for a reason. Okay. Let me do the parm. I don't need a lot of parm, but you know what? If I didn't put it in there, I would be mad. I'm gonna say, you know, okay, maybe a quarter of a cup or a couple of tablespoons. I just got a little parm here. I'm hoping just to use this little bit up. It'll give that nice little nutty saltiness to this dish as well. Okay. I've got the rind here, but I still have a little bit more left. So I'm just gonna try and get as much off of it as I can. And then, I'm sure many of you guys know already. If you haven't thought about it, this rind is great if you put it in a soup or anything that you may need the parm flavor part of it, like your tomato sauces or soup or something else. And then you just, you know, search it out before you serve up your sauce or dish. But man, it adds such great flavor. Okay, I think I'm almost to the end of this. Yeah. You know you're to the end when you don't see really any more. I don't know if you can see it there. See that very thin layer of white? And then the rest of it, you're getting into the rind. So save that rind because a lot of great flavor. So I don't know, I may have a little less than a quarter of a cup, but that's fine. I just wanted a little bit. Get the rest of this little parsley flakes in here. Put this back in my little bag. Okay, get the rest of my parm out of there. Tell you, after I do these things, I got a lot of cleanup to do. Okay, now let's do it. We're just gonna pour this in here. I'm gonna lightly, in fact, I might need a spoon to make sure I get everything. Okay, hang on, I'm gonna go get a spoon. Because I don't think this fork helps stirring it all up, but it's not really gonna help getting it all out. Because look at all this goodness. We can't leave all that in there. Okay, there we go. Just gonna lightly spread it out. So I think it's important to go from 6 to 8 layers here, and then another 6 to 8 layers on top. Okay, there we go. We've got that so far. Now I'm just gonna lightly, if I can, lightly fold this over. I mean, this should still be wet enough. Don't fold it over completely because I'm going to put other layers in here. There we go. Okay, there we go. Okay. Get this off of here. So I'm going to put this on here. And you know what? My butter kind of, see, I tell you, my house is not warm enough. I'm gonna go ahead and melt this butter just a little bit so it's easier to spread it on the phyllo dough. So I'll be right back. Okay, so we're just gonna, gently as we can, just lightly. The first layer always seems to be the hardest. Then the others just kind of fall in. Oops, look at that, man. It tears so easily. You can always trim this stuff later, or if you want, just fold it over. You just really want to create a good seal. The biggest thing that you want to do is really create the layers. Okay, here we go. Just want to make sure I get it in around the edges. This one is kind of just weighing me down. And if you don't want to use butter, I think you could go ahead and use oil too, but I don't know, to me, butter is flavor and it will help brown. Just kind of lightly patted in there. So I think that's layer number 3. So this might be kind of boring for you, for me to do 4 more. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up buttering all of this. And I'll be right back when I'm done. The one thing I did forget to tell you guys is to, oh, why not do another one? Is to add a few, breadcrumbs. You can use regular breadcrumbs. I would probably prefer the panko just because I still think it gives that little bit of crunch besides the pine nuts, but that's up to you. Nope, no last one. It kind of stuck together. Oh yeah, look at all this. Oh my goodness. Okay, let me get my cutting shears. Okay, what I'm gonna do here is just, I could have folded over this piece, but I'm just going to cut it off. Okay, you know what? The one thing I forgot to tell you. So I'm going to put this in the oven, but we should have preheated our oven at 375 degrees. I would check it at 40 minutes. It might take you up to an hour depending on your oven, but also depending on the size of your dish. So I'm gonna stick it in there at 375 degrees for 45 minutes, and it should be nice, toasty, crisp brown. One thing I'm gonna do here, one thing I've learned over the years is that if you don't score at least the top layer of this, it's a little bit harder to cut because it's been cooked, it's all crispy, and it may just all fall apart. So I'm gonna cut these in little squares here, because now it's all moist. And I guess I should have cut it a little bit. Maybe I'll cut these a little bit bigger. These will be smaller and this will be the bigger size. So if you want a bigger piece and then just a small little piece, you've got that option. Okay. I think I'm just gonna go down the middle. If this was a bigger pan, I probably would have done it in thirds. And I'm just gonna score this right down the middle. Okay, if I remember correctly, this should bake. Turn out a nice golden crispy phyllo dough spinach pie. Okay, I'm gonna check back with you guys in about 45 minutes. So come on back to Amy Roloff's Little Kitchen. Well, I'm here to finish up the recipe for my spinach pie with using Filo dough, which I absolutely love. It provides a nice little crunch, paper thin, but you get so much of that great goodness from the spinach mixture. So anyway, obviously Chris and I liked it because it's almost all done. So let me try this again, because it is even better the second day or third day, whatever. I obviously took too big of a bite because I was so hungry. But anyway, I hope you give this spinach pie recipe a try. So go visit amyroloffslittlekitchen.com or on my YouTube channel, subscribe to it. But in the meantime, follow the recipe and you'll have a great spinach pie. And this is great because spinach is coming out now with going to your farmer's market and stuff like that. My biggest suggestion is to make sure that you use, wilt and cook your spinach. Because if not, that'll just create a little more water content to your pie. So anyway, spinach pie recipe and video over at Amy Roloff's Little Kitchen. So thanks for joining me, you guys.